have you join us on Nationwide today. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. A meeting of the National Security Council is now ongoing at the Presidential Villa. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports that President Muhammadu Buhari is presiding over the meeting. In attendance are the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Ministers of Justice, Defense, Interior, Police, as well as Foreign Affairs. Also at the meeting are the National Security Advisor, Service Chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, as well as heads of other security services. As at the time of filing this report, the agenda of the meeting was unknown. NTA News, however, learned that the meeting might not be unconnected with the resurgence of criminal activities in parts of the country. The ongoing counter-insurgency operations by the nation's military aimed at mopping up the remnant of Boko Haram elements in the northeast might also be discussed. We will keep you posted with details of resolution at the end of the meeting. Now to the latest from the NCDC on COVID-19. Nigeria has recorded 184 new cases of COVID-19. A breakdown from the NCDC shows that of the new cases, 51 are in Lagos, 23 in Jigawa, 16 each in Bauchi and Katsina, 14 in Kano, 10 each in Rivers and the Federal Capital Territory, 9 in Kwara, 5 each in Delta and Kaduna, 4 each in Sokoto and Oyo, 3 in Kebbi, Nasarawa and Osun State respectively, as well as 2 in Ondo and 1 each in Ebonyi and Edo States. With the new diagnosis, Nigeria now has 4,971 cases. 1,070 of them have been discharged, while 164 deaths have been recorded. And as the number of COVID-19 cases in Nigeria rises, governments at the state level are taking the closure of state boundaries more seriously and ensuring that citizens comply with the guidelines issued by health authorities to control community transmission of the virus. This was the position of guests on NTA's program, Good Morning Nigeria, while speaking on the situation report in states. Let's now join Olusheye Adeagbo for more.
As at 14th of May, Thursday morning, information on the NCDC web page indicates that 35 states in Nigeria, including the FCT, have COVID-19 cases, and Kano is sitting in the second spot with over 700 confirmed cases and close to 600 on admission. In his reaction to how the coronavirus is being handled in Kano State, State Coordinator of the Technical Response Team on COVID-19, Dr. Tijani Hussaini, revealed that things are now under control as awareness is on the increase.
Normalcy is beginning to come back, or has come back to the healthcare delivery in Kano, and people are taking the necessary steps to ensure that they guard themselves against getting infected with coronavirus.
The Commissioner for Health, Yobe State, Muhammad Lawan Ghana, expressed concern over how citizens are complying about the social distance rule, while the Acting Secretary, FCT Health and Human Services Secretariat, Dr. Kahu Mohammed, is worried about the attitude of patients at isolation centers.
The state has made it mandatory for the use of face masks.
The experiences we had with patients on admission is very, very disturbing.
Representative of the Kwara State government and its counterpart from Oyo State expressed optimism that Nigeria will overcome the pandemic in spite of the current challenges.
Fortunately, most of the patients that they came through the border, they were already under quarantine. And we took samples and they came back positive.
Respondents on the Good Morning Nigeria Twitter handle also want efforts to be intensified to check interstate movement, while more awareness should be created among citizens. They appeal to government at the sub-national levels to be forthright with the situation at hand. In Abuja, Olusheye Adeagbo, NTA News.
And still on COVID-19, the Nigeria Governors Forum is increasing capacity of national response in the fight against the pandemic through the strengthening of fiscal framework and adequate provision of medical incentives across states with critical needs. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that these measures were part of the communique issued at the end of the NGF's 8th teleconference on COVID-19.
The communique drew attention of the federal government on the need for inclusive and strategic engagements of states in sharing of revenues and other refunds from treasury loot to meet shortfall occasioned by COVID-19. The forum also agreed to review state 2020 budgets and the amendment of state procurement guidelines to support e-procurement for the participation of small and medium-sized enterprises in line with operation of World Bank State Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability project for the pro-poor fiscal response to mitigate impact of COVID-19. The forum is also to initiate software for the deployment of e-procurement across states as a service model with a framework agreement. The NGF also pledges to sustain all multilateral and bilateral partnership, collaborate with Dangote Foundation and Coalition Against COVID-19 for the recruitment of health volunteers to assist in the management of facilities across the country, and received a briefing from the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Mele Kyari, on delivery of permanent medical facilities and supplies of other equipment to accelerate performance of frontline workers in the continued fight against the pandemic. The 36 state governors expressed disagreement on the proposed Control of Infectious Disease 2020 bill for lack of consultation and constituted a committee to liaise with leadership of the National Assembly for appropriate action. NGF Chairman and Governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, on behalf of the forum, congratulates Ambassador Ibrahim Agbola Gambari on his appointment as Chief of Staff to the President and wish him a successful tenure. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
And this is Nationwide on the NTA. Hingino in our Lagos Network Center will now bring us the next set of stories. Hello Hingino, you're on.
Hello, Hawa. COVID-19 pandemic is still ravaging different parts of the world, leaving businesses closed for weeks. Lynn Leneke examines the creativity of the business environment to stay afloat.
The persistence of the global pandemic, there's no end in sight to the lull currently experienced in the financial sector. With the high risers under lock and key, players in business are sealing deals online, leveraging on digital platforms like Skype, Zoom, Instagram, and Telegram, as well as a host of others. The media business is also following this trend. I sought out the views of active stakeholders on the impact of adopting digital trends in corporate interaction.
The governors are holding FEC meetings online. The president and his ministers are meeting online. Critical decisions are being taken, and people are taking note to follow up on some of the decisions that have been reached. With all of these kind of arrangements, it's beginning to show us areas where we really do need to cut costs, both as a household and as a business, and you still get the same desired result and outcome.
We should say in a way that thank God to this COVID. If not, a lot of organizations wouldn't have known that they can work from anywhere. They can explore the technology and still achieve the set out goals. And at the end of the day, you realize that you've achieved more than when you even appear physically in the office.
A reduction in physical interaction between people. So there will be some benefits. For instance, there may be less hold up on the road. But at the same time, one of the setbacks will be that some people could lose their job too.
Watchers predict that the war against COVID-19 may not be won anytime soon, but the prospects for initiating and executing businesses online will continue even after the much-awaited cure or vaccine is produced. In Lagos, Lynn Leneke, NTA News.
The ease of the lockdown, no doubt, has brought relief to Nigerians, especially those who live on daily income. However, the level of compliance by residents of Lagos has been described as discouraging and may translate to increase in cases of the virus if left unchecked. Annie Daniels has details.
When the first case of COVID-19 was reported in Lagos, most people did not envisage a lockdown. However, to curb the spread of the virus, the state was completely locked down. Complaints became the order of the day by residents, especially those who live on daily income. Then, the state and federal governments eased the lockdown, but not without conditions. Such conditions include mandatory wearing of face masks and observing both social and physical distancing. 2 weeks to ease of the lockdown, some Lagosians found that residents of the metropolis are not fully compliant with laid down guidelines. For instance, a camera lens caught several people wearing their face masks on their chins and several others not observing physical distancing.
There are some people that they have strong, they are not going to use it at all. But I'm just pleading on the government to make it compulsory.
I would advise, if the medical professionals see that without bringing back the lockdown that will affect us more, then government should bring back the lockdown.
On a closer interaction, respondents gave reasons for doing the wrong things.
My customers, they won't hear what I'm saying. They'll be angry at me. Some will walk out from me.
I don't like covering it because I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe very well. A long time and it's shaking me up. So I want to just get a fresh air.
With such explanations, people still claiming ignorance of the presence of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Respondents fear that it is surely a recipe for spiking cases of COVID-19 in Lagos. Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Thanks for rejoining us, but we will now hand you over to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 for the daily briefing.
Do you not know that our enemies have no face? They are indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
The following guidelines for eased lockdown, as announced by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, are effective from 4th May 2020 in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun states. For public spaces, the following are mandatory: improvised face masks, temperature checks, hand washing facilities and hand sanitizers, physical distance of at least 2 meters, no sporting activities and mass gathering. On travel, these are prohibited: passenger flights, interstate travel except essential services, movement of agro products and petroleum products. Note, there will be mandatory supervised isolation of returnees for at least 14 days. For markets and offices, neighborhood markets are to open 3 times a week from the hours of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Banks and financial services are to open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Government offices are open only to staff from grade level 14 to 17 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Corporate
nationwide, we are, however, sorry for the loss of audio at the ongoing PTF briefing for today. We will rejoin them as soon as signals are restored. Meanwhile, with a looming global economic recession, no thanks to the coronavirus, Nigeria has been urged to initiate agricultural policies and initiatives that will encourage farming and possibly return the country to the post-independence regional cash crop period. The belief is that agriculture can once again become the mainstay of the country's economy rather than states waiting every month for federal allocations that may soon disappear. Let's now join Cordelia Ukwoma for that.
The agricultural sector accounted for 57% of the gross domestic product GDP and generated as much as 64.5% of export earnings between 1960 and 1969, as farmers were encouraged to take loans on a single digit prior to the discovery of oil. The recent global economic downturn occasioned by COVID-19 and the fall in oil prices, the worst in 20 years, stakeholders say, has made it imperative to look inwards towards agriculture rather than continue to depend on federal allocations.
The only thing that can solve the problem when the oil has fallen is employment that will be created by the agricultural sector. Because you see that agriculture is the only thing that can absorb the shock. People are already coming down. It must be invested along value chain.
Chairman Abia State Council of Traditional Rulers, who has been in the forefront of the campaign, expressed fear that post-COVID-19 could spell doom for food security if no calculated efforts are made now.
This is a time to cultivate and to harness the God-given resources to this country. We don't have to look foreign anymore, thinking that we are going to China, we are going to Europe, we are going to America.
Akajaja, which translates "the hand that works in the morning is in the evening," is a campaign sponsored by the wife of the state governor and being driven by the Abia State Agricultural Development Program, ADP.
The virus is something that may have to live with us for some time while we find a cure and while we find the remedies. So right now, we are encouraging farmers to, everybody go to your farm.
Ada Awazie is a civil servant and has heard the clarion call during the stay-at-home period. The Back to Land campaign in Abia State is focused on women to help feed their households in the face of difficulties by easily reaching out in the gardens to get what to eat without spending money. In Umuahia, Cordelia Ukwoma, NTA News.
An Islamic group, the Jamiyatu Ansaruddin Tijaniya, has reached out to the vulnerable persons with palliatives in Kuje Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. Taisi Omer reports that the gesture is in the spirit of the Ramadan as well as to reduce the impact of the partial lockdown.
A season of Ramadan is characterized with almsgiving in addition to fasting and other activities in line with the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, the Jamiyatu Ansaruddin Tijaniya is extending its gesture to the vulnerable persons in Kuje with food items and other personal protective equipment to keep safe from coronavirus.
It's a holy month of Ramadan, and we know how it is to pass this kind of holy month under this kind of predicament. So it is on this we now donate within ourselves and see how to really help. We appreciate a lot of people who have really donated to this just cause, particularly the wife of the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Hajia Aisha Buhari, for her support.
Since we cannot reach everyone, so we have to also prioritize. So we now go down to our zawiyas. And under Tariqat Tijaniya, we have our nucleus is the zawiya.
Amina Yakubu is among more than 80 families that benefited from the palliatives.
We have to talk to the people to obey what the government says.
So far, more than 600 families across the 6 area councils of the FCT benefited from the palliatives, courtesy of the Jamiyatu Ansaruddin Tijaniya. The Islamic group also paid homage on the traditional ruler of the area, Gomo Kuje Alhaji Haruna Tanko Jibrin. In Abuja, Tessie Omeri, NTA News.
And we earlier brought you a story on an attempt to go back to the land initiative. And joining us now via telephone to talk more about the initiative there is the programs manager of the Abia State Agriculture Development Program, Mr. Israel Amanze. He joins us by telephone. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Amanze. If you can hear me, okay. If you say back to land, are we talking about subsistent farming to contend with our current reality, or looking at commercial agriculture for export?
We're not looking at subsistence farming. But meanwhile, we have to start from there. Most of us are not already at commercial farming. But what we need to do now is to move our farmers from the low-level productivity we are to a higher level. We have to let our farmers go into larger-scale agriculture, more than the level we are operating right now. So it is not subsistence that will deliver Nigeria, but it is commercial agriculture. However, most of Nigerian farmers are still on subsistence agriculture, and we need to move them away from there. We need to provide everything that will make them go into high-level production and leave subsistence agriculture. So that's what we need to do.
Okay, we easily reach out to our gardens at home to feed the family. How feasible is this considering the layout and planning of cities across the country?
Currently, most of our, if I use the Southeast as an example, we have we have our lands that are fragmented. But that does not stop us from planting or getting to commercial agriculture. What we do now is to cluster farmers, get farmers from neighboring areas and get them together, let them form clusters into cooperative societies and large clusters so that they can produce the same thing over a larger area and make greater gains.
Okay, I'm just wondering what priority areas we should look at to prevent food shortage post-COVID-19.
Yes, that is what we're doing in Abia State. The wife of the governor has launched a program, the one you mentioned, the Akajaja. Akajaja is a program where we say that a hand that labors will feed itself. That when we say that if you touch the ground, plant in the ground, you have harvest and feed yourself. Right now, everybody is at home. The students are at home, the workers are at home, the transporters are at home. What else do we do? We are now encouraging people to go to the farms. Most farms are behind us. Most farms are places where we are not going in large numbers. It's a place we will go and observe all the things we need to do in order to avoid the COVID-19. When we do that, we still plant and they harvest for our population. So what we are doing here in Abia State is that with the assistance of the wife of the governor and every other person, we are mobilizing farmers to everybody get back to the farm. So while we are still locked down because of the virus, we are planting and we are hoping that by the time the virus is over, we'll have something to give to our people. Everybody is advised that this is the time now when we have excess manpower available at the houses. Let's mobilize them to go into the farm and plant for Nigeria. If not, we may have a lot of scarcity after the COVID.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amanze. We hope that we will be in a comfortable situation of food sufficiency at the end of this. Thank you very much for joining us on Nationwide today.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari has vowed to do whatever it takes within available resources and limits of the law to deal decisively and proactively with the various security challenges before the country. He said Nigerians deserve a much more peaceful environment and nothing will be left to chance towards achieving the objective for sustainable future. The president made the promise at an extraordinary meeting of the National Security Council. Over now to State House correspondent Adamu Sambu.
The meeting of the National Security Council was summoned by President Muhammadu Buhari to discuss and find solutions to the most critical issues affecting Nigeria's national security. The meeting had in attendance Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Ministers of Justice, Defense, Interior, Police, as well as Foreign Affairs. Others were the Service Chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Directors General, Department of State Services, and the National Intelligence Agency, Director of Defense Intelligence, and other stakeholders. The National Security Advisor, Babagana Munguno, who coordinated the meeting, presented various memoranda which were considered in respect of the prevailing challenges of security facing the country. These include terrorism and insurgency in the northeast, armed banditry, kidnapping, and other acts of crime and criminality in parts of the country.
You of course know that we are all firmly in the crosshairs of all kinds of criminal elements trying to undermine national security. I stressed to Council that there is a need for collective action, not just by the security agencies, but by all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, as well as civil societies and other non-governmental organizations within Nigeria.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who noted with concern all the issues raised, described as unacceptable that Nigerians still live in fear. He challenged all those responsible for maintaining peace and national security to remain alive to their responsibilities, as explained by the National Security Advisor.
Mr. President is fully on board, committed to doing whatever is necessary to reduce the spate of violence and insecurity in the country, spending whatever resources he has at his disposal to bring a quick end to all the issues, bringing a lot of sorrows to Nigerians. And he will redouble his efforts in ensuring that the primary responsibility of government, which is to ensure the safety of lives and property, is realized.
The National Security Council was also brought up to speed by the Chairman, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, on efforts at controlling and containing the coronavirus pandemic in the country.
He gave a comprehensive brief on the gains made so far, highlighting areas of concern, areas that need urgent attention and possible solutions.
The National Security Council, which meets on quarterly basis, has a constitutional mandate of advising the President on all matters relating to public security. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The Zamfara State Committee on COVID-19 has presented hand sanitizers and some other personal protective gears to the State Council of Chiefs for distribution to rural communities in the state. The presentation of the items, performed by the chairman of the committee and Speaker of the State House of Assembly, was attended by all the 17 emirs in the state. Salamatu Umar Abdullahi has more.
The Zamfara State Task Force Committee on COVID-19 has interacted with all the emirs of the 17 emirates in the state on how best to curtail the community spread of the deadly disease.
Government has also trained health care experts on contact tracing and the management of both suspected and the confirmed cases. Ambulances and utility vehicles were provided to all general hospitals in the state and the isolation centers.
He urged the traditional rulers to, as a matter of agency, do everything possible in informing and enlightening their subjects on the dangers of the pandemic. Responding, the chairman of the State Council of Chiefs and Emir of Anka Al-Haji Tahir Muhammad Ahmad and other emirs that graced the occasion applauded the state government as well as the committee and assured to enlighten the subjects on the dangers and safety measures. Highlight of the occasion was presentation of hand sanitizers, face masks and other personal protective materials to the emirs of the 17 emirates in the state. From Gusau, Salamatu Umar Abdullahi, NTA News.
Now, I understand the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 briefing has just ended, and we have our correspondent, Mitaire Ikben, standing by to give us details of highlights of the briefing today. Mitaire, if you can hear me, how seriously is the PTF taking the issue of a herbal remedy for COVID-19? What's the mention made of the latest discovery by the Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria?
Yeah, specifically, the PTF said that a lot of Nigerian researchers
and solution providers are bringing their solutions to the Presidential Task Force. The chairman of the PTF, Mr. Boss Mustafa, says this is not the protocol. These solutions or remedies are not meant to come to the Presidential Task Force, but they are supposed to go to agencies in the Federal Ministry of Health, like NAFDAC and the NAPRID, for the verification and validation protocols of these claims to cure for coronavirus. And so the chairman of the PTF is discouraging people to stop bringing their claims, bringing their remedies to the Presidential Task Force. So that's what played out. And again, the chairman of the task force also made it clear that Nigeria did not request for Madagascar's herbal remedy, as being insinuated in some quarters. He said that the government of Madagascar particularly gave trial allocations to various African countries, sent these trial allocations to Guinea-Bissau, and asked West African countries in particular to pick these their own consignments from Guinea-Bissau. And so it is just a show of solidarity with a fellow African country, and not that Nigeria requested for Madagascar's herbal remedy. That was the clarification here today.
Thank you very much, Mitari, for the clarification. But on a general note, what would you say is the feedback that the PTF is getting across the country on these daily briefings?
Yeah, on a general note, a lot of Nigerians appreciate the coordination of the Presidential Task Force, especially with respect to curbing the spread of the pandemic in Nigeria. The PTF has several online platforms, and where Nigerians can send questions, can send comments and contributions. And according to the Secretariat of the Presidential Task Force, a lot of Nigerians are reaching out to the PTF. They are commending a lot of their initiatives and also giving suggestions on how the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria can be contained.
Is there a level of satisfaction expressed? Is there a level of satisfaction expressed by the people? Mitari, if you can hear me, is there a level of satisfaction expressed by the people from the feedbacks?
Yeah, like I stated earlier, the Secretariat of the Presidential Task Force, either live or off camera, have told us repeatedly that a lot of Nigerians are okay with the way the Presidential Task Force is handling the pandemic, and they are coming up with their suggestions, their criticisms, their comments, and everything that they think would be useful to help Nigeria at this critical point in time to address and handle the coronavirus pandemic.
Thank you
so
very much,
there's a groundswell of reactions from Nigerians towards the Presidential Task Force.
Okay, Mitari, thank you very much. Thank you. That will be all from Mitari, but we take a break now. More reports shortly.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
25th February 2020, Nigeria. It is real. It is a nightmare. It is killing people all over the world. It is COVID-19. Compliance with the various states in Nigeria, the current measures will flatten the curves. Shutting down is not an act of wickedness, but an act to save lives. Stay home, stay safe. Observe social distance. Always put on a face mask while leaving your house. Make sure you are on a tricycle alone. Cars and buses cannot carry more than half their passengers.
Always remember to wash your hands. Together, we will defeat COVID-19.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for rejoining Nationwide. Let's now join Zulay in our Kaduna Network Center for more reports.
Good evening and welcome to Kaduna. Jigawa State Government, has begun the establishment of COVID-19 testing laboratory center in Dutse to expedite testing of suspected cases with a view to containing community spread of the virus. Muhammad Musa Askira reports that this is in addition to approval of stipends to frontline health workers in the state who are currently on extensive training on how best to curtail the spread of COVID-19 among the people.
That the provision of COVID-19 testing laboratory in the state will fast-track the process of tracing suspected cases for quick testing, as the delay in the process aids more spread of the virus among the residents of the affected communities. To spur renewed commitment in the discharge of their duties, the governor has approved daily payments of 10,000 naira stipend for doctors among other frontline health workers in the state. Experts, according to Governor Baduro, have projected that Jigawa may record more than 20,000 coronavirus cases in the state if stringent measures are not put in place to prevent community transmission of the disease. As the lockdown continues in 5 out of the 27 local governments in the state, Governor Muhammad Badru Abubakar stated that more palliatives are on the way to the less privileged to cushion the effects of stay-at-home order.
Our major concern in this pandemic is to prevent our people from acquiring this infection and improve survival of the infected. All COVID-19 patients currently on admission, aside two with pre-morbid conditions, are doing well, and the treatment protocol deployed by the state seems to be yielding results.
As at the time of filing this report, Jigawa has 118 confirmed cases, out of which 63 are among the returnee Almajiri peoples, who represent 53% of the state total infection so far, with 7 persons recovered from the disease, while 2 persons have died. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
In its continued efforts to ease the hardship occasioned by the lockdown, especially among the vulnerable, Kano State government has presented assorted food items to 300 orphans and internally displaced persons. Johannes Hassanbaro reports that the distribution coordinated by the State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development was in conformity with social distancing order.
Since the index case of the coronavirus pandemic in Kano State, measures have been put in place to stem the spread of the virus in the state. Among them is the lockdown which the state and federal government imposed, which had its attendant effect on the vulnerable. To therefore cushion the effect of the stay-at-home directive, the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development has distributed food items to the needy in the society.
We appreciate all those organizations who supported us to achieve this.
Binta Isiaku is among the 300 beneficiaries who received 10 kg of rice and wheat flour, 4 liters of groundnut oil, and half carton of pasta. The joy of Binta, who is a widow, knew no bounds, as she said the items will go a long way in ameliorating her condition and that of her 6 children.
Only God knows how I feel. May Allah reward them abundantly.
We thank God for such support. The distribution was observed following the guidelines of social distancing, use of hand sanitizer, and the distribution of face masks to the beneficiaries. In Kano, Johannes Hassanbaro, NTA News.
And we're back to Hawa in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Shazule. And back here in Abuja, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been meeting in continuation of its consultation on the Edo and Ondo governorship elections, scheduled for later this year. The National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, INEC, Festus Okoye, joins us via telephone now. Good evening, Mr. Okoye. Please make this very clear for our viewers. What is INEC's position on the Edo and Ondo polls?
Well, the Commission has been meeting in relation to its preparations for the Edo and Ondo governorship elections, as well as other by-elections that have not been conducted. As of today, we have 5 senatorial by-elections and 4 state assembly elections that have to be conducted. So in addition to some other issues relating to the operations of the Commission, we also met in relation to the Edo and Ondo governorship elections and these other by-elections. And the meetings are continuing and it's ongoing.
Okay, besides contending with the operations of your offices in the 2 states involved, there is also the issue of recruiting and training your ad hoc staff for these exercises. Have you operationalized plans in that regard?
Well, we have directed the resident electoral commissioners for Edo and Ondo states to resume immediately. And the resident electoral commissioner for Ondo state has resumed. The administrative secretary is on seat and all the other heads of departments are already on seat. Now, what we are looking at revolves around the type of innovation and the type of technological input we are going to bring to bear on the 2 elections. We're also looking at how to re-strategize and operationalize our programs more efficiently, given the present pandemic that is ravaging the world and the country. So we are looking at all sorts of issues around these 2 elections. But our 2 offices in Edo and Ondo have resumed, and all the departments in the Commission are operational as of now, and we are looking at various submissions from all the departments to make sure that we harmonize our operations and begin to prepare more earnestly for this election. In terms of recruitment of ad hoc staff, the electoral operations have given us a framework on how we will recruit some of the ad hoc staff that will also given the present challenges being witnessed throughout the country.
Okay, Mr. Okoye, we certainly are operating in a new, what we call a new reality. Could you give us an idea of some of the innovations we might likely see in contending with the challenges of holding elections in a pandemic situation?
Well, the commission will definitely meet on the 19th day of May 2020 to take what I call major decisions relating to the conduct of Edo and Ondo governorship elections, as well as some of these by-elections that I talked about. And it is very, very clear that one, most of our recruitments will be done online, and the trainings may likely be done online. And that is in terms of the ad hoc staff that will be used for this particular election. Secondly, we have to look for ways and means of guaranteeing both social and physical distancing in all the polling units, given the present reality on ground. And thirdly, it is also very clear that some of the ad hoc staff that will be recruited and some of our staff that will be engaged in this particular election have to be protected in terms of getting face masks, in terms of provision of water and soap, and also in terms of how to make sure that the smart card readers we are using are decontaminated before any voter uses it. So we are looking at all these realities. But it's very clear that we can no longer do things the way we used to do things before.
Certainly,
we have
Mr.
to bring
Okoye.
a lot of creativity and innovation.
Certainly, Mr. Okoye, we truly appreciate that we can no longer do things the old way. Thank you very much for joining us on Nationwide today. We appreciate.
You take care.
Moving on, Diba Barre is in our Port Harcourt Network Center, and she's next in line with more reports. Hello, Diba.
Welcome to Port Harcourt. In consideration of the concerns of the residents, River State Security Council has further relaxed the total lockdown on Obiakpo and Port Harcourt City Council areas. Ogediyeko reports that Governor Nyesom Wike, who announced this in a broadcast, says the relaxation of the lockdown ends on 17th May 2020 by 8 o'clock in the evening. Governor Wike says there will be curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on Thursday 14th, Friday 15th, and Saturday 16th May 2020.
While the total lockdown on Obiakpo and Port Harcourt government area will immediately follow from 8:00 p.m. Sunday 17th of May 2020 until further notice. Time and time again, we have said that the lockdown is a necessary measure universally applied to mitigate community transmission of the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 is not only here with us, it is increasing in number of infections.
All residents are advised to comply with all other established measures, including the compulsory wearing of face masks and the closure of our land, sea and air boundaries and entry routes which are still in force. Residents are expected to make good use of the new 4-day window to purchase, restock, and prepare for the total lockdown. In Port Harcourt, Ogediyeko, NTA News. Bayelsa State Governor Senator Doye Diri has extended the partial lockdown of the state by 7 days. He announced this at a briefing by the subcommittees of the State COVID-19 Task Force, where more preventive measures to contain COVID-19 were outlined. Fred Owefi reports.
Governor Doye Diri, on receiving the reports that the 5 confirmed cases are in a stable condition at the Niger Delta University Teaching Hospital Isolation Center in Okulobri, expressed optimism that government, with the support of members of the public, will do its possible best for the state not to go beyond the 5 confirmed cases of COVID-19.
For the interstate lockdown, we will be there 24 hours. Health, emergency staff, and all other relevant persons are hereby directed to carry out this assignment.
The governor also emphasized compulsory use of face masks in public places. From Government House, Fred Oweifie, NTA News.
And as a bit from Port Harcourt, Nationwide will continue right after the break. Good evening.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Welcome there. Have you washed your hands?
Inside my house again. This thing not the key black man.
I don't know if it's misinformation or poor hygiene that will kill you first. Coronavirus is real, and good hygiene practice will save your life. Anyway, no hand washing, no eating.
I will not take care of it. How's one of the parents? Coronavirus is real and it's on the rise. But you can help yourself and help others to be safe. Remember, we can stop the spread. It's in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for staying with Nationwide. As the coronavirus pandemic continues to spread across the world, wreaking havoc in its wake, the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, a tireless frontliner in the fight against COVID-19, has been noticed and given support by a humanitarian group, the Ben Akak Foundation. Achibambasi reports that NTA Calabar is the beneficiary.
On 31st December 2019, the World Health Organization announced a mystery pneumonia, which was later identified as COVID-19. Since then, the Nigerian Television Authority has been following every step of this journey with multiple stories, incessant headlines, and continuous updates. Amidst the challenges posed by the outbreak of the COVID-19, NTA Calabar has been at the front line creating awareness and disseminating information. This has earned the station the benevolence of this humanitarian group called the Ben Akak Foundation for its dedication to the fight against COVID-19 and encouraged the station to continue in its strides as a nation's television authority.
They've always been there, and oftentimes we overlook them, but they are very critical and essential. I mean, you can imagine this is the only television station that reaches to the nooks and crannies of Nigeria.
I felt that the media house should not be left out because they are in the forefront, they've been going out, and a lot of them are not carried along.
The general manager, NTA Calabar, Mr. Boniface Ezekugo, is overwhelmed by the gesture.
We have also played that we also support them, whatever they are doing to help humanity.
The Ben Akak Foundation is poised to touch lives and impact on humanity. In Calabar, Achibombasi, NTA News.
Thanks, Achibong. And as part of his community development initiative, a philanthropist, Asema Achado, has donated two 500 kVA transformers to Aleide community in Benue State. The Benue State-born industrialist had also constructed township roads and event centers as his contribution towards raising the standard of living of his people. Hussaini Mohammed Isa has more.
After building an event center, construction of about 4 kilometers of township roads, and building of an edifice worship place, all in Aliede community, the headquarters of Gwe East local government of Benue State, a philanthropist, Asema Achado, is now on electricity. This time around, the industrialist bought two 500 kVA transformers and installed them at Abu Garage and Aliede roundabout areas of Aliede community who have stayed in darkness for many months.
We've been in darkness close to 2 years now for lack of transformer. But he has done it, he has brought it, so we are very, very excited. We've been having issues concerning electricity, and today that light transformers have been brought, light has been restored. I think businesses are going to return to normal.
After inaugurating the project amid cheering by his kinsmen, Asema Achado said the idea is to bring back to the society that nurtured him and promised to continue touching every aspect of human life, particularly that of his people.
I'm doing this for my community. This is a community that brought me up. It's difficult to quantify what they have done for me. They have to show the businessmen who are around there how jubilant they were because this thing has come, and then they will do their businesses.
Aliede community leaders were full of gratitude for having developmental projects through the philanthropists.
My community has been in the dark for so many months, if not years. So this has relieved them, and I'm really glad. And
we are happy that our own son, our very own, has provided a facility for us.
For a community that has spent about 2 years in darkness, it is not in doubt that this project will not relieve residents from their hardship and even spur economic growth and development. From Aleide, I am Hussaini Mohammed Isa, NTA News.
And still staying with Benue State, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has reaffirmed commitment towards transparency in carrying out its mandate of curbing corruption in Nigeria. Well, the Commission was currently faced with a situation of alleged abuse of privileges involving one of its officers and the owner of a pastry shop in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. Our correspondent, Tina Uma, joins us now for an update on the situation. Tina, what do you know from the zonal office of the EFCC on this matter? Is there a position on the investigation so far?
Yes, thank you very much. After the incident took place on the 6th of May 2020, they released her and they told the owner of the eatery to return the following day, that is on Monday morning. And when she came to the EFCC zonal office in Makurdi, the head of the zonal office insisted again that he was going to detain her because the incident that occurred in an eatery was everywhere on the social media. And she informed him that she didn't know who had posted it on the social media. However, she was detained at the EFCC zonal office in Makurdi for some hours and charged for attempted fraud.
So what is the position of the EFCC right now? What are they saying?
Right now, I put a call into the matter, and all the officers that went to the eatery that day to arrest the owner of the eatery and the manager, they are going to investigate the matter, and anybody found wanting will be dealt with accordingly.
Thank you very much, Tena. We surely get back to you to give us an update on the running story, I guess. Moving on now. 9 Boko Haram terrorists have been killed in an ambush by troops of Sector 1 Operation Lafia Dole. A statement by the Acting Director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Sagir Musa, indicates that the terrorists were eliminated at one of the irregular crossing points at Maino Jagana axis in Kaga local government area of Borno State. Colonel Musa notes that 2 gun trucks mounted with anti-aircraft guns were recovered from the operation. And that's Nationwide this Thursday. We thank you for watching. Do remember that staying safe is a collective responsibility. Be safe.